So most people are under the impression that Macs and iPads compete against each other, but in reality, Apple built both of these from the ground up to work in tandem and work together. And it's not until you put them side by side that you start to realize some of these magic aha features and moments that you get because you're in Apple's ecosystem and their walled garden. Things like Sidecar, universal control, dragging files between the different operating systems, continuity camera, just to name a few. So in this video, I want to break down these magic moments and show you 10 examples of how the iPad and Mac work in tandem to really kind of showcase what it's like and what the possibilities are like when you use these together. So sit back, relax, enjoy these, and take some notes because again, you're going to find these extremely useful. And leave a comment down below of your favorite kind of Apple ecosystem magic moment that you use on a daily basis. So let's get right into this. But now before we continue, if you do enjoy video walkthroughs like this one, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and help us get to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. So just very quickly, to make sure that these features are going to work for you, there's a couple things you need to make sure that are turned on and are set up correctly. The first thing you're going to need to set up is make sure that both of the devices, the Mac and the iPad, are on the same exact Apple ID. That way they'll work together in tandem. Secondly, make sure they're on the same Wi-Fi. Make sure that Bluetooth is turned on for both of them. Make sure, and this one's going to be important, that handoff is turned on both of these devices to make sure that they can actually hand off whatever data and different continuity features that we're about to play with. And then lastly, make sure that they're within the same proximity of each other, maybe the same room or the same desk setup like I have behind me here. And then once all that's set up, everything should kind of work fluidly and both of the devices will be able to recognize each other very simply. Well, alright everyone, as you can see, this is going to be the current setup. We have the 12.9-inch M4 iPad Pro sitting right here. Behind it is going to be an M5, a MacBook Pro that's being used by this A-Logic 40-inch 5K monitor. Again, this setup is a little bit of overkill. You don't need the latest and greatest here. You only need an entry-level iPad, maybe a used MacBook Air to get a lot of these features. But to kind of get started here, let's start off with the quote-unquote the most basic one, but in my opinion, the coolest one. So I am using my own peripheral, so I got the Logitech mouse right here, and I have a trackpad. I do recommend getting the Magic Trackpad. If you're gonna splurge on anything, Magic Trackpad by Apple is going to be the best use cases. But the first one's gonna be all about universal control. So universal control allows you to use the peripherals from one device, AKA your Mac, and then moving it over to your iPadOS operating system. So the way to get this done is very simple. You go into your settings, go into where it says display. You're going to go over here to this little drop down where the plus button is right here. We'll press that. And then it says link keyboard and mouse to Fern's M4 iPad Pro, or there's the second option here, which is mirror or extend. For universal control, we're just going to do this one, which is link the keyboard and mouse. So then you see that it does show up right here, M4 MacBook Pro or M4 iPad Pro. And then what you can do here is arrange it however you see fit. So I have it underneath, which is good to see. And then if I bring this mouse, so this mouse right here, and bring it down, it'll then go into iPadOS on my iPad Pro. So I'm able to swipe between them using the trackpad right here. And then I'm using basically the iPad as a standalone iPad and then using that between the two. Universal control allows you to do a few things here. So if I go into my file system, for instance, let's click on something simple here, something that's small in size. Let's go with this, this M1 Pro chip kind of thing right here. If I long press it, I can actually drag it over here onto my desktop, and then you can see that it shows up on my desktop. So this is a great example of continuity, universal control, so I'm able to move and do things that are on my iPadOS operating system and my hardware, move it with the peripherals that I was using with my Mac over to my Mac operating system. So again, that's universal control in a nutshell. It's magical. I highly, highly recommend turning it on, playing with it, and seeing what kind of limitations you have right there because they work in conjunction fantastically. So now the second thing I want to show off here, which is going to be similar but a little bit different at the same time, is going to be Sidecar. Sidecar is going to be kind of like universal control, but it's going to use that second option that we saw. So instead of doing the link keyboard and mouse, we're actually going to mirror and extend to the iPad. So give it a second, and now you see that my iPad interface has changed a little bit. You can see that I actually have macOS on the iPad down here. You can check where it is arranged from. So you can see that it's still underneath there. And then you have a couple options here. So you have the ability to use it as an extended display, as a main display, or mirror your display. You also have a couple options here that show up. So you can have your show sidebar on the left-hand side, which will pop up right here if you want to. You also have the ability to turn it off. And then also you can have a touch bar if you want to on the bottom, but I like to put never on this one and never on this one as well, because I'll be able to control everything. And I just want as much space as possible on my M4 iPad Pro. So this is what it looks like for the iPad Pro running macOS. And this is gonna be great for people that are at WeWorks, at co-working spaces, maybe they're at a coffee shop and they don't have a dedicated portable monitor, but they do have an iPad and you're able to just use continuity and use things like universal control and the Sidecar feature in order to get this done. and a great way that I've been using it recently, so I've been using Final Cut Pro a little bit more here and there, and I have my Final Cut Pro right here, but what I like to do is actually bring something like this, so it's showing me the preview. I press this button down here, and now the preview does show up down in my main display of the iPad. So I'm able to see everything that I'm doing in editing in real time on the iPad, and then actually my timeline, my transitions, my edits are happening on the main display. So think about all the different ways you can kind of attack this however you see fit. And this is actually a great segue into using something like the Apple Pencil in the macOS environment on the actual tablet itself. So first and foremost, if your iPad supports hover, if you hover your pencil over the display, you'll see that the mouse or the actual pointer shows up right there, which is very, very cool. And then for instance, if I want to just open up Safari, I can click on Safari, it'll open up there, but then I can also just grab it here, drag it to the iPad, and then I can actually use this to move this around. Now, it's not gonna be crazy accurate, like for this situation it's fine, but if you're in Photoshop and you want pixel perfect precision, I recommend using a dedicated iPad app, but it's good to know that I can just kind of hover over here, minimize it if I want to, press it again if I want to, open this one up if I want to, maybe if I wanna open up YouTube I can do that, and then I'm kind of just using it however I see fit. It's opening up YouTube, so it's almost acting like another way or another input method to click on things perfectly. So that's gonna be the third option, but next up, what I gotta do is shout out Paperlike because they're sponsoring this video. Over to you. So if you've watched this channel for a while or even followed me prior to my personal channel, then you'll know that I've been using Paperlike screen protectors on all of my iPads since around 2018. And then late last year, they finally released their much anticipated Paperlike 3, which improved on the already amazing Paperlike 2.1, and they invented a brand new application process, which I think is fantastic for so many reasons. But let's quickly talk about the screen protector itself, because what really sets it apart from the competition is their nanodot technology. Those nanodots on the screen protector create the perfect amount of friction when you are using your Apple Pencil on your iPad display. It creates this friction that makes it feel like you are using paper and pencil, and you even hear that scratch resistance, which is very satisfying to hear. And one of the byproducts of the nanodot tech is that it makes the screen anti-glare, kind of refracting all the light from behind it and also keeping the screen as clear as possible. But now one of the biggest upgrades to Paperlike 3 has to be the new application process, which they're calling the Butterfly Application System. What this new Butterfly applicator does is that it basically eliminates the biggest problems people have with screen protectors, which has to be the dust, misalignment, and all those bubbles that you get. It gives you this helper tool that aligns everything perfectly, and there's even an interactive on-screen guide that walks you through this step by step, and it also reduces a ton of waste because you don't need a big plastic kind of frame to put your iPad in to make sure that you're aligned. And Paperlike also makes accessories that pair really nicely with the Paperlike experience, like their folio case. It has a premium notebook style feel with a soft touch exterior, which I love to see, but it's still very slim and lightweight and magnetically attaches, which is the best way to get a folio case on your iPad. So if you use your iPad for notes, drawing, productivity, or just for content consumption, this is honestly the first recommendation that I make for anybody that purchases a brand new iPad. But again, big shout out to Paperlike for partnering up with 9to5Mac. Everything that I mentioned will be linked down in the description below and in a pinned comment. Definitely check them out if you need a screen protector for your iPad. But now, back to the video. So again, big shout out to Paperlike for continuing to partner up with 9to5Mac, but I did want to mention one more thing about that third option when it comes to pencil control on the macOS environment. You can, again, use your pencil to treat it as a trackpad or as a mouse or something like that, but it doesn't work with your finger input. So if you grab your finger and try to do something with it, it actually won't recognize your finger, but it'll recognize the Apple Pencil, which I think is great, so you're not doing any accidental touches on your iPad. But now let's get rid of macOS on the iPad. So now we're back to the iPad operating system. The next thing I want to bring up is continuity copy and paste, or the continuity clipboard. So for instance, if I go into my clipboard right here, if I go into my notes, if I go over here, maybe copy this, I can then go over here and go into my Mac and paste it, and then you can see that it says G2 on there right there. So whatever it is, whether I'm copying and pasting text, copying and pasting files, copying and pasting images. It even works with some video if you really wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it because it takes a long time. But even if you have, let's say, something like this. So let's copy this. And if I go down here, paste it, it should paste, allow that paste, and now I have that right there. So you saw that it loaded up in real time and then ported over there, and then it's on my iPad. It's not on my Mac. This is now on the iPad, on iPadOS, in the iPad version of the Notes application. So universal cut, copy, and paste, universal clipboard, a huge added bonus to working alongside that, and that works with your iOS device and pretty much any other Apple ecosystem moment. Okay, so now let's really get into the meat and potatoes. I feel like the other ones that I mentioned were more high level and a lot of people knew them, but now let's talk about these, which is going to be this handoff between applications. So for instance, you see that I have Safari opened up over here. It's on 9to5Mac's website. if you do notice on my iPad, on the actual dock, a little Safari icon did show up with the little kind of, if you can see right there, it shows it off with the little desktop icon. So if I tap on there, it's actually gonna pull up Safari on my iPad, but with the web page that was open on my Mac. So for instance, if I go back here, I'll open up YouTube, scroll up, you can see that it's gonna overtake it. We'll tap on here, and then it's opening up YouTube in Safari on my iPad, and you're able to hand that off with a bunch of different first-party or native applications. So think about the Notes application. If I open up Notes right here, you can see that immediately it showed up down here in my dock. I tap on there, and then it'll bring me to where I was before, which is great to see. So being able to do this handoff and continuity between applications when they are started running on each of these applications works fantastically. So another one that I think is probably the most underrated feature between continuity across these two devices is going to be the screenshot edit. So for instance, if I go in here, let's take a screenshot on the desktop itself. So we'll take that screenshot, it shows up on the bottom right, we'll hit it right here, and then you'll hit this little coloring button or the little pencil button, and then you drop this menu down, tap on Fern's M4 iPad Pro, and then it shows up on the iPad Pro. So what I'm able to do here is use my Apple Pencil to edit it how I see fit. It'll show up in real time. We'll do a heart, we'll do a circle. Everything that you've grown to know and love about being able to use screenshots and being able to use your Apple Pencil works perfectly well. Let's change the color. We'll, use a different pen tip. We'll say hello here. And then when you're done, you go back to your desktop, we'll press done, and then that's what the screenshot is gonna look like. The iPad goes back to normal. We'll open up the screenshot again, and then you can see that it's been fully annotated by the iPad. So again, think about all the different use cases for this one right here. Being able to quickly do autofill, quickly sign a document, quickly edit things or scratch things off with your Apple Pencil, and then leave it on the actual desktop itself. Because again, this file is staying on the desktop on macOS. It never touches the internals or the internal storage of the iPad. All it's doing is using the iPad to be able to edit it, and then it goes back directly on there. So again, this one is going to be one of the most used ones, or one of the most used ones that I've actually used. And then of course you have some other ones. For example, when you receive calls, receive FaceTimes, receive text messages, it'll show up not only on your Mac, but it'll also show up on your iPad as well. Those are all very simple, very self-explanatory, and you can swap between the two, which is fantastic. And then a couple other little ones that not a lot of people know about that kind of go with the first few that I mentioned. For example, if I long press on the traffic light management buttons on any window, you get the options down here. It says you can go to full screen, but you can also move it to M4 iPad Pro. So I'm gonna do that, and then it shows up right there. It goes right into Sidecar mode. It shows up down here, and I can pull the mouse over here, which is great to see, and now I'm controlling YouTube and I'm controlling Safari. That's on my Mac, and I'm controlling it on my iPad, which is awesome. So again, there's so many different features to take advantage of right here, and you can just see the sky's the limit. Like for instance, you can have the Final Cut viewer right here, like I mentioned, while you're editing your timeline on top. You can have research down here while you're doing something on the actual top. So there's so many ways to use continuity and these magic ecosystem moments between your Mac and your iPad. Let's finish up the video, everybody. So that will do it for this video, everybody. As you saw, there's a lot to like and a lot to be able to get done when you are using macOS alongside iPadOS. Some of my favorite features, of course, is Sidecar, universal control, being able to move things between the different devices seamlessly without any issues, being able to copy and paste even things like images and videos from one device to the other. And they've just been working in tandem for so well and for so long that I think a lot of people, or a lot more people, should be trying this out. Now, you don't need a MacBook Pro, you don't need an iPad Pro to experience this. An entry-level MacBook Air and even just the entry-level iPad will get you about 95 to 99% of the experience that I'm showing you in this video. So again, you don't have to spend $4,000 to get this experience. You can buy yourself a used MacBook Air for like $600-700, get yourself a used iPad for like $250, and you'll be cooking and being able to get all this done the same way that I am. But let me know in the comment down below what you think. Do you use these continuity features? Do you use these ecosystem moments and features? Are you ever blown away like I am with these magic moments? Again, this is Apple's secret sauce or sweet sauce. The more devices you have that are on the same Apple ID, the better they play together, and the more usability and utility you get across all your devices. But again, let me know, comment down below what you think. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin. Big shout out to Paperlife for continuing to partner up with 9to5Mac on videos like this one. But until next time, if you guys want to watch more videos like this, check out one of these videos right here. Peace, everybody.